Welcome back, y'all. I'm Gerald David.
And I'm Kitty.
And this is 2Aprons. Today, we have something really, really good. And this is spicy glazed chicken and honey butter corn. That's right, honey butter corn.
With coleslaw and crunchy onions.
Ooh, look what we got in here. All right, this looks like relish.
Yeah.
Looks like some...
This is absolutely some relish. I think it's sweet pickle relish if we're being accurate. This is some round butter. It looks like cheese. I always get so excited, but it's butter.
I get excited for both.
This looks like mayonnaise. I think we're going to have some sort of sauce here. Ooh, we have some beautiful purple cabbage. Very delicious.
Boom.
Some crispy onions. Love those guys.
Oh, that looks delicious.
This is going to be our spice blend today. This is our barbecue spice blend, and it consists of sweet paprika, smoked paprika, garlic powder, light brown sugar, ground fennel seeds, and ground coriander. I know it sounds complicated. I'm relatively sure you can buy all of that stuff at like your local supermarket on the spice aisle.
Also, don't be afraid to just try different spice blends. There'll be a lot of people that have their own spice blend that get very close results.
For sure. There's also a book that I love called The Flavor Bible.
Yes.
And it literally tells you like flavor affinity. So if you look up one spice, it'll tell you what spices go with that. And you can create your own spice blends from there based on what you like. So that's super cool.
Corn.
If you don't know what that is, I can't help you. Okay.
Why can't you tell a secret in a cornfield?
Why?
Because it has too many ears.
Oh, I should have seen that coming. I didn't. My bad. We got some honey here.
Yes.
Beautiful.
It's important to take that early and get it up to room temperature.
Also, with honey, if you have allergies, which I suffer from seasonally for sure, if you consume local honey, it is supposed to help with the allergies because you actually consume those local pollens, and so it will help. It's theoretically will help reduce your allergies to all of that. So if you can buy local honey, that's just like a helpful little thing. And then we have some delicious hot sauce, which is like literally my daughter's favorite condiment.
Yes, absolutely.
She came over this last weekend to hang out with us. She's like 20. We got Cracker Barrel, and she was like, "Do you have hot sauce?" I'm like, "For Cracker Barrel, really?" But like, it's her fave. So
some people put hot sauce in everything. First thing we're gonna do is put a pot with some salted water, 3/4 of the way up.
Always salt your water, folks. It's like the first rule of boiling water. Apparently.
Especially if there's any pasta. This isn't, but if there is pastas, it helps deal with the starches. It isn't really about flavor. A lot of people think, oh, you're just doing that to make everything salty. Sometimes it's really just to help you deal with the food itself.
I've also been watching like a lot of Chopped lately. Like it's my current binge on the Food Network, and they always like ding people for not salting their water. Like basically, regardless of what they're doing, they're like, you didn't develop that flavor level because your water wasn't salted. So
well, for the starches, it was more because of the way it felt, the texture. It really helped.
I don't know. What they said was you didn't develop that flavor level. So
okay.
That's what I'm basing that on. I don't know.
Right. I will start husking these. Pretty simple. And usually when you guys get yours, it'll probably be a little bit more work intensive. This one's kind of like a cheater level. It's kind of prepped. As you'll notice as well, all our vegetables have been washed prior. So if you need to wash yours, take a moment and wash yours.
And honestly, the corn isn't that intensive. Like once you get into it's relatively easy. You like kind of break off that top piece and pull down. And then it's just a matter of like pulling all the silk or hairs off.
This is the part that's kind of a pain.
Yeah.
It's getting all the hairs and the silk off of it.
But the other thing you can do with that is like put it under running water while you like kind of slough it off. And that's like really helped me.
Step aside, Kitty. Let them see.
Yep.
Yep. That's what I'm doing here. And it does. It helps clump it together and keep it super easy.
And if you have a garbage disposal, like even better because you're not even clogging the sink, right?
But I guess a lot of people probably use this in like a compost heap.
Yeah.
These are the kind of things that really can.
That can definitely go into a compost heap without any problems. There are things that can't, like for sure. Please Google that because I just saw an article recently where it was like stuff you shouldn't be composting that most people do. But like the outside layers of corn is not one. You can definitely compost that.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's great for the environment. I also read an article today about how every square foot of vegetable garden you plant reduces reduces your
carbon footprint
by like 2 of those. So
because
don't quote me on the specifics, but yeah, it reduces like transport costs. It reduces like all kinds of stuff that's like you wouldn't even think
all
of.
the logistics.
Yeah,
All
exactly.
the different stuff that's executed in trying to deliver any one product anywhere.
And apparently, like transforming a patch of grass into a vegetable garden also helps reduce like carbon footprint. So, like, hey, great idea for organic produce.
That's right.
Just make sure your topsoil is good.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So these are just waiting for the water to boil, I believe. There's nothing else we have to do to them.
No.
What do we do to the lettuce, Kitty?
So for the cabbage, or what we're going to do is we're going to cut out this root, or this core here.
Ooh,
And that's
chop chop.
A bread knife, and not
This
whatever.
guy right here. You don't want that. That's the icky part.
But that's super easy. So basically, you just cut it at an angle.
Yep. Bam.
That comes right on out.
Boom, boom.
And then you have your edible cabbage, and we're going to go ahead and cut that finely. For our coleslaw.
Mm-hmm. And this coleslaw is pretty basic. It's salt and pepper. What else does it add to it?
Mayonnaise based, that's almost everything in the South is.
Well, yes. I guess that's true, huh?
Mayonnaise. Ranch is mayonnaise based, people, so I don't know.
Oh, and this also gets that pickle relish along with a little bit of olive oil.
Yep. So it's going to be very flavorful. It's going to be delicious. Like, if
Oh,
you're a
that'll be
fan of
good.
coleslaw.
Yeah, don't do that. Sometimes with stuff like that,
And
yeah,
then I'm
it's
gonna
easier
switch
just to
to
do
this
it like
side
that.
and
Yeah.
do it like this.
That made me nervous, y'all. I was
Only
like,
till
"Woo."
it's safe, guys. Once you feel like weird about it, like
And even
stop.
cut it once halfway. I don't like when they're super long pieces because then it's like a whole awkward like while you're eating thing.
No, it is. Like trying to slurp cabbage is not the
Yeah.
same as trying to slurp like pasta.
And even with like, well, even with pasta, I'll cut that kind of like to a little bit of a shorter, what I consider a bite-size-ish level. So we get this cabbage into here. And then you said what? It was going to be the mayonnaise, olive oil, and the relish?
Ooh, for the cabbage, we're gonna combine
believe
it with
that's
the
it.
pickle relish, the mayonnaise, and a drizzle of olive oil, and then we're going to what?
Salt
Season
and
with salt and
pepper,
pepper. Yes.
So here's the
Gerald
may-
David
Ooh,
had it.
Here's a spoon. Boom. Boom. So mayonnaise in.
Mayo
Yes. Bring this a little closer.
And if you wanted to do like a vegan version of this, you could always use what I use or have used in the past is mayonnaise, which is like a vegan mayonnaise.
What about
So-
Greek yogurt? Is that classified as vegan?
No, not remotely. It
We
has
have the-
definitely has animal products in
The
it.
pickled relish
Yeah.
goes in next.
Greek yogurt is fantastic though, and it would
It
be a
is.
lower fat and lower calorie alternative to mayonnaise. And I highly recommend it because I absolutely love it. It's so delicious.
And salt
And then we're
and
gonna
pepper.
do a drizzle of olive oil and
Yep.
salt and pepper. We've got our olive oil, and again, just a drizzle.
Oh, you go
Wait
ahead.
till
I meant
he's
to do this.
done.
I thought we were gonna go at the same time.
There we
Thought
go.
we were gonna be fancy. I was trying to show off, y'all.
I want to make sure I see how much is going in there. You know, I'm like a.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
have
was always
things
like,
about that.
boom. Just mix her on up.
Especially with mayonnaise, like olive oil seems unnecessary to me, but it definitely needed some additional like
Moisture.
moisture. Yeah, for sure.
To get this
So.
rolling. Absolutely.
And that looks fantastic. I'm super excited
It
about
does.
this coleslaw.
It does.
And I don't even like coleslaw, but this I love red what is this?
This is red cabbage. Yeah, this is red
I
cabbage.
love red cabbage.
It looks
so,
purple,
yeah.
but it's red. No,
I
it
love
looks
red
purple.
cabbage,
I don't know
so-
what they call it. Red cabbage.
I don't like traditional coleslaw just because it tends to be so much mayonnaise. I live in the South, right? So like when you say coleslaw, it's basically a giant glob of mayonnaise with a little bit of vegetables in it. Not
That
my
is
favorite
true.
thing. This, however, looks really good. So I'm
That
excited
is
about
true.
it.
It does tend to be just a glop of some stuff.
It's like if you order tea in the South, expect to get sweet tea. Like that's just
Oh,
what's
yeah.
happening. Like don't fight it.
You don't want sweet tea, that's weird.
Yeah.
It's different if you're like doctors forcing you. They kind of get it. But it's definitely weird.
But if you order tea in the South, like it's probably going to be sweet tea. Like try that before you commit because.
That's right. Otherwise, you gotta be real specific when you order.
Yeah, if you want hot tea, that's a very specific drink. If you order tea, it's coming out like iced and with a lot of sugar.
Oh, so much sugar. If you're lucky, it's the places that are fancy and they do simple syrup and they just leave it on the table because then it will be unsweetened just because they think you're gonna make it super sweet. So you trick them.
But most of the South just super sweetens it for you.
Yeah, that's true. Boiling water's almost there.
Getting there. Do we want to start on our protein?
I think we do, so a
Gotta get
drizzle of olive oil, as always. Go ahead and start heating that up.
To get that pan heated, yep.
Boom.
And of course, our protein tonight is some delicious chicken.
Chicken.
And we're going to glaze that with our salt and pepper and our barbecue blend.
And we put this on about medium on our oven. As always, kind of play with your gear and know what it does. Your oven might be a little bit different. For ours, it's a little bit under the number 4, or what is probably on yours a medium. Not medium high. Sometimes they'll say do these things medium high, but
and we work on an electric, so if you work on a gas, it's going to be a
Yes.
little different. Like, know your appliances, kind of play
That
with that
is
for
true.
yourself. You kind of have to know, like, what
That's
your stuff
absolutely
does.
true.
And it took us a little while of playing with it to figure out, like, oh no, this is where we set this. When it says medium high, what it means on ours is like, kind of medium. So
that's right.
just play with your equipment. It's better to do low and slow and like take a little longer than to do like high and dry.
Yes,
'cause,
especially
ew,
with chicken.
dry. Well, especially with any protein, you don't want dry protein. It's just not.
You really
Great.
don't.
So-
So we put our protein out, our chicken, delicious cuts.
And then what
Boom,
we're
I'm
gonna
sure they-
do is salt and pepper it, and then add
Yeah.
our barbecue seasoning. So because his hands have touched the raw protein,
Icky,
I'm gonna
icky.
go ahead and salt this and pepper it
And what that does, it saves me a step because I'm about to have to touch it again in order to put it in
to
the
put it
pan.
in the pan. Yeah.
If you're by yourself, some people don't care. I do care. For me, so if I'm by myself, no, I have to wash your hand like 7 times. I don't know how ridiculous that is. Tell us in the comments.
It's not ridiculous, but you do want to wash your hands before you touch all of your kitchen
Mhm.
appliances, like your salt, your pepper,
That's
all
right.
of that. And then Gerald David's gonna rub this in a little bit to get
That's
it
right.
a little more even than I did. Just
Do
sprinkling
me a
it on
favor.
there.
Let's
Yeah.
put that plate over here and we'll show the
Oh,
audience.
absolutely.
For the folks at home.
So we've got our chicken. We've drizzled our spice onto it.
Yeah.
And
Perfect.
then Gerald David's gonna just kind of rub that in to get a little more even coat,
That's right.
so that we're not just like inundating it. And you want to make sure that you get this on before you cook it.
Yes.
Because there is such a thing as raw spice, and it's
Mhm.
when you haven't cooked the spice and it hasn't had time to develop, and it's not pleasant, y'all. So you want to make sure that that spice, if you forget it, like add it at the end and try to cook it a minute or two, if you can. But you don't want to ever just like eat raw spice because it's not pleasant on the
Yeah.
tongue. It's not pleasant on the palate. Like it's not going to go well.
Yeah, and we don't mean like salt and stuff like that, but we mean
No.
yeah,
Like the spice
Yes.
blend that's all
These-
of this stuff.
what I call
that
bougie
needs
spices.
To cook. Yes, your bougie spices need to cook and develop.
If you'll put the plate back over here for me, again, just trying to be cautious of my hands. I think we're now ready to throw this in the skillet. What's our time going to be on these? I think 5 minutes.
So
What do
yes,
you do?
our time is going to be 5 minutes.
Yeah,
on
set that
one
for
side.
5 minutes for me.
Absolutely.
So setting time for 5 minutes.
And just so you'll know, these are like,
We're not quite there.
oh, we're not quite there.
We're
It's
not quite
getting
there,
us
so stop the timer.
Okay.
What I did is I was able to put it in just partially. You can tell that it wasn't sizzling the way I like it to start, so I'm going to let it get a little bit hotter. And that's the other advantage of, because I just touched the tip in rather than I threw the whole thing in there, which would be like a big pain to try and pull it back out or whatnot. But I did that to try and tell, is it temperature? You can do it also too by moving the pan and seeing how viscous the oil goes back and forth. So we're just going to give that not much longer, a little bit.
Once
Just a
the
little
oil
bit.
moves like water, your pan should be up to temperature. The other thing about our chicken tonight is that it's 94% fat free. It's like a really lean meat, and so it's going to cook a little less than like a really thick chicken breast would.
We can put our corn in.
Oh,
Let's
yay!
start that.
Okay.
So
So
corn
I got
in.
the corn because his hands are contaminated. I'm going to drop this into our water.
If it's too long, break them in half. Grab it back out and just break that guy in half. No,
That one's
will
good.
it?
Yeah.
Oh. One of ours fit and one of them didn't. If it doesn't, just snap in half. You can do it just like that.
Easy peasy.
Yep. That
Lemon
also
squeezy.
works for kids, or if people only want half an ear of corn. Sometimes that happens. Boom, just know that it
Just
needs
so, like
two.
the little shorter ears of corn you get sometimes,
the-
like that's probably one broken in
What's
half.
the timer on that?
So on the corn, we're going to boil that for 2 to 3 minutes. It's like super short. And it's basically just until it's really bright yellow and slightly tender.
And we'll
That's what
probably
we're
do it a
looking
little
for.
longer.
We probably will.
I don't imagine 3 minutes being long enough for me. We'll probably do 4 or 5 because I like it really tender. And
And
let
when,
us,
oh, I'm sorry. Go
no,
ahead.
I was gonna say, let us know in the comments. Do you have different results? If we put it in longer, is that making it less tender? I think it's making it more tender, right?
Well, when the water is boiling, once you drop it in, it stops that boiling process. And so you may give it a couple minutes to get back up. Oh, yeah, that is very, very hot now. So
Now
we
this
can go
oil
ahead and
is
drop our
ready.
chicken. Our
And the
timer's
reason-
set for 5.
Oh, yeah. And the reason I didn't swish it around earlier, the reason I just tipped the chicken in, is because my hands are already contaminated. Thus being the difference. Where if your hands aren't, you can, of course, just swish it around.
You can see how the oil is doing.
So just different techniques for different things. So we got this guy going. Oh, yeah. And you can hear the sizzle as soon as it's down on there.
And if it's sizzling when it goes down, that is, you know, your pan is up to temperature. You're good to go. Once that third one hits, I'm going to start this 5-minute timer.
Boom, there we go.
And again, just kind of base it on how thick your chicken breast is. You know, if you're using a leaner meat, it's going to be less time. If you're using a thicker piece, it's going to be a little bit more time. So kind of gauge that accordingly. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to season the other side of the chicken while it's in the pan once he's done with salt, pepper, and our spice blend. And we will just kind of sprinkle the spice blend over this time. No need to like rub it in unless you just really feel the need to, and just make sure you wash your hands after if you do.
No, yeah, I just sprinkle it in, I'd say.
That's what we normally do. Once you lay down one side, then you can season the other side and kind of get that ready for when you flip it.
At some point, we'll be adding half this butter to the chicken, I believe. Isn't that when we add the half butter?
It's after the first 5 minutes. So after the first 5 minutes of the chicken cooking, we're going to cook it another like 3 minutes, and then we're going to add half the butter, 2 tablespoons of water, and the hot sauce. As much as you'd like, depending on how spicy you'd like the dish to be. And what does that mean for us?
Spicy.
All of it.
All the way.
Always all of it.
And so I'm adding half the butter now, and you said the honey?
Yes. And that is the corn that just went off, so we're going to leave it a little longer because we had it set for 3 minutes, but we decided we're going to go a little longer.
And does any water go in this for the honey and the...
No. You just mash it to combine and then season with salt and pepper.
All right.
I'm going to squeeze in under there and get this to season the other side of the chicken. And on this one, with the spice blend, you may have extra, so don't be worried if you have a little bit extra. You don't have to use all of it, because sometimes it gets to be, you know, they gave you extra, so you don't have to use all of it. It gets to be a little much.
Where's a fork? To mash this together.
Yes, absolutely.
So why do they call this hot honey then? Hot honey butter.
I don't think they do.
Do they?
No. It's,
it's just honey butter.
Yeah, honey butter.
I don't know why. Oh, because it's, I'm thinking the spicy carried over.
Yeah. No, that's just honey butter. And you're going to mix that into like a beautiful paste that's going to go on our corn.
Love honey butter. There's a restaurant here in town that does honey butter, and it's spectacular. That's an easy way to make like a little easy dessert too, is just add cinnamon to your butter and dip normal rolls in it. And all of a sudden what becomes a pre-dinner appetizer becomes a nice little dessert.
And if you're like super like instant gratification person, you can actually buy cinnamon sugar already mixed together in the spice aisle at the grocery store. Mix your own. It's probably less expensive, I'm going to guess, and a little bit fresher, but you can buy it if you're just like, no, I don't want to deal with that.
No, but I'd rather have fresh. Fresh spice goes a long way. I think it does. So that's ready.
Butter, yep. And we've just got about a minute left on our chicken. The corn is done.
Oh,
you can pull that whenever you want to.
Oh yeah, let's go ahead and do the corn.
The timer is what's left on the chicken.
Grab our strainer.
And can you show them how they're supposed to be using this?
Yeah, well you just put it on top. It depends how your strainer is, but if your strainer is like ours and it has this is the key portion. They don't all have that. But if it has that, you can grab it like this and you can tilt it out like that.
I saw this on Instagram where it's like, you've been using your strainer wrong this whole time. Like, instead of pouring stuff into it, you're just supposed to put it over the top and strain it.
Well, especially for pastas that end up going back in the pot.
Yes.
If it doesn't, it doesn't really matter. Like this corn, it doesn't.
But it does make it easier to clean the strainer if you don't put the stuff in.
No, I like this. I don't want to burn myself. So again, do what you need to do. You know what I mean? But the point she really is making is when you're doing pasta, you're saving a step because it doesn't just go right back in. And this thing doesn't really make a mess on the strainer.
But it doesn't with the corn. With the pasta, it leaves all that starch on the strainer that you're having to clean off. Yes. So it does make a bigger difference there for sure.
I think it does. I think absolutely it does.
And then Gerald David loves corn, so he's going to go ahead and get 2 pieces there where I'm going to get, or all of the pieces, because I'm not like a huge fan of the corn on the cob. All right, so that is the first side of the chicken.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
All right, gonna flip the chicken.
Then we're going to set that timer for 3 minutes because we're going to add some more things at 3 minutes and cook it for another 2.
Oh, it smells so good.
And again, these are very lean pieces of chicken that we have, that we've gotten for this meal. And so those are going to be a little less time than what we would normally do. Normally it would be 7 minutes per side.
But but really though, not even really normally. Just it really depends on the cut of meat you got.
It does.
Some are thick, some are thin. It just depends. Usually we get nice thick cuts of meat, which I really like. So yeah, it just depends. But really, that's what it's about. And sometimes I'll put the lid on or I'll not. So what is next? What's going to be the next thing in the chicken?
All right. So with the chicken, we're going to let that go for 3 minutes, which has now started. Thank you for that. And then once that 3 minutes is over, we're going to add the other half of the butter. Some water. It says 2 tablespoons. We usually add a little less because this tends to be a little bit high on the amount of water added. And then we're also going to add all of the hot sauce. And then we're going to cook, just kind of spooning that mixture over the chicken for another 2 to 3 minutes.
And that's the butter and the hot sauce?
Yes, and
Yummy.
a little bit of water. And then once the chicken is glazed and cooked through, we're going to turn off that heat and our chicken is done. Super easy,
Yummy.
guys. This is not a hard meal tonight, so I love that, always.
Just some nice classic, simple. I'm just getting caught up on the dishes. You know how we do.
Gerald David is doing our famous clean as you go. It just makes everything so much easier when you finish, not to have that giant pile of dishes to do.
Boom.
That's why I actually like to cook now. So.
Look how these guys are coming along.
Oh,
Wow.
beautiful. That barbecue seasoning looks like it is doing its thing.
I'm just making sure that the oil can get under there.
So it's not sticking and burning and all of that fun stuff.
So every now and then, not with a steak when you sear it, but with chicken and stuff, you want to make sure it kind of can get up under there.
So we're done with our spice blend, actually. Our coleslaw is marinating. You want to get that done like we did, and then just have it sit at least 10 minutes to kind of marinate and all of that like deliciousness that we put on it. Our honey butter is made, and our crispy onions are ready to go. So we're just basically waiting on that chicken to finish in about a minute and a half.
Perfect.
I'm just kind of getting cleaned up as we're waiting on that, which is like the multitasking, like good way to go about it, in my opinion.
And I love chicken. I know a lot of people would rather like barbecue it on the grill outside, but you know, weather doesn't always permit that. And sometimes, you know how life is, we're all just rolling with the punches. We're pretty much just getting used to things as we can.
And sometimes it's gross outside, and you just don't want to be out in that humidity standing over like a hot grill.
That is the truth, right?
Sometimes it's fun, like don't get me wrong, but sometimes it's not. So this is a good way to do it inside.
Get it going. And also it's just about time. By the time you get the charcoal going right on the grill, you know, it takes a little bit more to it. This is more just like trying to get back to those fundamentals, but in kind of a stylish, simpler way. Praising efficiency, because you really don't have to work that hard to up your game just a little bit. You know, it's all about those incremental steps.
Absolutely.
Because you can definitely go far in your grill master game. You know, people dedicate their lives to it, and we appreciate them.
And to be fair, I've never grilled anything personally in my life, and I'm a little bit intimidated by the grill, so this is like a good way for me to be able to accomplish this without having to like try and start a charcoal fire.
That's right.
Or burn something.
I can tell our timer's down to that 3 minutes. Is this when we added the butter and the hot sauce?
3 seconds.
Yes, 3 seconds.
So you're gonna add, you're gonna add the butter, the remaining butter, which is half. You're gonna add some water. It says 2 tablespoons. Right. I would start with 1.
I'm gonna flip them first. That's the first thing. Is let's flip them. Will you gather the water, please?
Yeah.
That'll be super helpful. All right, the other.
I'm gonna start with a tablespoon here.
Ooh, look how delicious these look. Oh. That is yummy. It definitely looks like a spicy glaze too, doesn't it?
Alright, hold that.
Yeah. There you go. Boom.
There's that.
Next will be the honey. Or no, I'm
honey
sorry,
and
the hot
butter.
sauce.
Or,
No, the hot sauce.
sorry, the hot sauce. Our
Next
bad.
will be the hot sauce. Boom.
And all of it for us. Y'all do what you want, but.
And of course the butter.
And then the butter. And this is just water, so I'm not going to wash this because it's dirty.
Because water's water.
Yes. It didn't dirty anything, it just wet it.
What should the timer be set for?
So the timer's going to be set for another 2 minutes. And
Got
then
that
we can
timer
go from there.
going.
It is going.
Oh, I'm so excited. This smells so good.
It does smell really good.
A couple more more dishes for the dish side.
Aren't there always dishes, guys? Ain't that the way?
And this chicken is no antibiotics, you know, raised here in America. I really appreciate that my food comes from where I come from.
It's also cage-free, which is kind of important to me because if you've ever seen anything on chickens raised in cages, it's pretty horrific. So these are cage-free, no antibiotics, all vegetarian diet, no hormones, no steroids, all of that fun stuff that's like kind of really important to us when we do eat meat because...
Yeah, I guess I spoke wrong. It's not like I don't care where it comes from. I care that it comes from close to where I am. That's really what it is. You also don't want your food traveling all the way around the world to get to you. There's no way it can stay fresh. You gotta get it kind of sourced close to where you are.
You want to make sure when you're sourcing proteins, depending on what you care about, like I'm kind of big on like whatever I'm eating, not having had a terrible, like horrific, tragic life where it was like super sad and everything because they've done scientific studies. This is not me conjecturing. That does like leach into the meat and cause like issues.
Oh yeah.
And so what I appreciate is that it's cage-free, vegetarian fed diet. That means it's not like cannibalizing anything or whatever. Also like no antibiotics because you know we already have those resistances.
Oh, keep going. I'm not interrupting. I'm just also showing in the background. Sorry, that did actually disturb. I was trying not to disturb. I'm just showing this.
Also in America tend to have antibiotic resistancies because people get so, or in the past have been so overprescribed antibiotics. And so you want to make sure that you're trying not to get additional antibiotics, no steroids, no hormones, that sort of thing. Just because that has been an issue with me in the past. And so it's just good to look at that, look at your sourcing, kind of find out where everything is coming from, and do the best you can on just being like responsible about that stuff. It's just healthier, that's all. Like you do you, but that's what I appreciate about it.
It is healthier. You know, you don't want to be getting someplace from some radioactive farm that has no regulatory controls. You know, unless you know that individual and there's some trust built there. But that's really what it comes down to. It's all about trust. And you have to understand where your food comes from.
Because the way mad cow disease started, like way back in the day, was that cows were eating other cows in their diet. So the vegetarian diet thing is like important to me because of that. Where I'm like, oh cool, no cannibalism, awesome.
That's right. So this is ready.
Yeah, our chicken has gone off, our corn is done, our slaw is ready. Like,
look how this came out. Look at that. That is
super beautiful, easy and simple.
Yes, delicious, delicious. I can get even kind of close to the camera. Num 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 num.
And again, we only use half the water it called for. It called for 2 tablespoons. We used 1, and obviously there's plenty of sauce in there. So I feel like that was.
What I think it did is I think it thinned out that hot sauce a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, here we go.
And you can always pour it over the top, like if you're like, no, I love sauce, like me. Like,
that's exactly
pour
right.
it over the top.
That's exactly right.
Awesomeness.
That right there for right now.
So we've got that. We're gonna add our
coleslaw.
Coleslaw. We're gonna put our honey butter on the corn while it's still hot because that's beautiful and lovely.
Boom, 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 boom. Look at that. Oh, will you give me a butter knife? That's probably the more appropriate tool for this.
Really, it's in the name, so I'm going to go with
yes.
I know. And this is our honey butter that we kind of mash together. So the butter in there is like infused with our honey. And if you have allergies, again, local honey is the way to go on that. Just to help with that a little bit.
And also it just tastes good. And it's fun to support your local farmers.
Absolutely.
I know not everyone has that, but here in Tennessee we do. Boom, boom. So it's one of the advantages. We never have to really go far for our food. And
it works because the bees have pollinated from local flowers, so you're getting all of that stuff. And once you ingest it, your body starts to like build up more immunities to it and that sort of thing.
That's absolutely right.
So it just helps a little bit. Get it where you can naturally, folks.
That's right. That's right.
And then we've got our coleslaw, and we're going to top that with our crispy onions.
Crispy
and that's
onions.
our dish, folks.
Crispy onions.
How easy was that?
Look how colorful that is.
I love it. It's so beautiful. All the purple and yellow and just gorgeous.
Ooh, delish. Delish.
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and top with the crispy onions here.
Yes, there you go.
Garnish.
Garnish. Well, it does. It looks very cool.
It's a lot of onions, so I'm going to leave some on the table.
Right?
In case somebody wants some extra, but we don't necessarily need all of those.
That looks delicious. Look at that. Yummy. Oh, this is just a classic done right. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Chicken, corn, coleslaw, Southern classic. Chicken with barbecue sauce.
Yeah,
Barbecue
spicy
seasoning.
glazed. Yep, spicy glazed chicken. With honey butter corn, which is now melted into deliciousness.
And coleslaw with crispy onions.
That's our show, y'all. Ain't that delicious? Ain't that something y'all need to come over and have dinner sometime?
Absolutely.
We miss y'all. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for watching. All right, you guys.